go ahead and get started. I am going to need someone to raise their hand to be my buyer during the buyer consultation so that we can go through this together and can answer questions as if I am speaking to a buyer through this process. So if you would like to be the buyer, go ahead and raise your hand or put in the chat box that you'd like to volunteer as tribute. Don't worry, all you have to do is just answer general questions. I will do all the heavy lifting as the agent. Not all at once. As always, when I teach, you'll either volunteer or be voluntold. So we can go about a minute more where some of you are dealing with your own stage fright before I just pull up a volunteer to help me through this process. For those of you just joining, where we are is I'm needing a buyer. I need someone to raise their hand to be the buyer through this process so that we can role play through the buyer consultation with me as the agent using the buyer brokerage agreement as the form. So if you would like to be the buyer, please raise your hand or put in the chat box that you would like to volunteer. If not, then I will just select one of you at random. All right, Anna, come on down. Don't worry, if you're worried about your screen, you don't have to share your screen. I just need you to at least be unmuted through this process.
Okay, good. Thank you for that.
Yes, of course. Hi, Anna, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So can you see the screen?
Yes, I can. All
right, awesome. So the way that this would normally work, obviously, whether it is in a virtual setting or it would be in person, the buyer won't typically see the buyer brokerage agreement like this. It's not going to be up on a screen. It would usually be in front of me, down right on either my tablet or on an actual paper that I would be going through. So we're just going to go through this casually, Anna, as if we've already had a conversation, but we're sitting down to actually kind of do a bit of a buyer consultation using the buyer brokerage agreement. So you ready?
Yes.
All right. Well, Anna, thank you so much for meeting with me here virtually. I know that it's a little different to do some of these things on Zoom. So remind me again, what is it that's causing you to want to buy?
I need a bigger place.
Okay. And so what are you in right now?
I am in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath.
Okay, and I'm sure that sharing a bathroom, especially when a boy continues to get bigger, is going to be fun.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, through this process, have you already been pre-approved?
Yes, I'm not finalized. I still need some documents.
Okay. Well, what'll help me is that generally speaking, how we would put your name down is how you intend to take title. It's also how you fill out the application. So do you already have an idea of how you would like to take title for your property?
With my name? You mean my full name?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it going to be your full name?
Yes.
Okay. And what is that?
Anna E. Connor. I use my middle initial.
You use your middle initial. Okay. And that's C-O-N-N-E-R, correct?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. And so the brokerage you'll see here, I'm going to put my name, and I'm also going to put Keller Williams Realty St. Pete. That's the office that I work for. Now, tell me, I know that you're looking for a bigger place. When would you like to move in?
Well, I know that I have to get my pre-approval done. So as soon as that's done, honestly, as soon as possible.
Okay. And so is there any particular time frame that you're hoping to shoot for, or are there any outstanding or outside situations that are causing you to have a certain timeline?
Uh, no, just because I'm paying rent here, I'm not on a lease, so I just have to give 30-day notice.
Okay.
That's really it. Yeah.
So I'm going to put just a general term here for 6 months. Obviously, you have the intention of being able to move in much sooner than that. And it sounds like, depending on if we can find the right place, that could be anywhere between 30, 60, even 90 days.
That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about the type of property that you would like to move into. Single family, condo, townhome?
Single family. That's a house? Yeah, I don't want a townhouse or condo. Yeah, single family.
Okay. And now, if we were able to find all of the things that you were looking for and it was in a townhome, would you be open, or is it very important to you that you have a standalone home?
Standalone home, please.
Absolutely. Okay. So in the type of property, I'm just going to put down that single family home that we're looking for residential. And obviously we're looking for that home that you're going to be able to have of your own backyard, and your neighbors are a little bit further apart than a townhome. Uh,
Yes.
is there an importance about the location for you?
I would like to stay in St. Pete, please.
Okay. And so is it important to you that the mailing address says St. Pete, or is it just about being in this general area?
I would like my address to say St. Pete.
Okay. And is there anywhere in particular in St. Pete that you already kind of have been looking or eyeing at, maybe a neighborhood that you love?
I know there are neighborhoods that I haven't ventured to,
Mhm.
so I'm open. I hear good things really about Kenwood. I really don't know much about it. I just hear, so I'm interested there, but I don't know if they're too pricey for me there. So
Okay. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. Now, are you drawn to Kenwood because of the historic homes, because of the size of the lots? What is it in particular that you hear are the good things of Kenwood?
I would say that there's more property, more land to the home, and I would really like my son to have the front yard isn't that important. The backyard, I would like for him a place to play and have his friends come over.
Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna put down for our location that we're looking for the city of St. Pete. Obviously, that's in Pinellas County, but really being particular to St. Pete. Is there anything about the location that you would like to avoid, whether it's flood zones or busy streets? Anything that I should know about a location that's important to you?
Great question. So yes, I'm not keen on being on a busy street such as 30, off 38th Avenue.
Okay,
Just because, I have a younger son, he's pretty smart, but I still don't want to take that chance.
of course.
I also have a dog. So yes, not busy street, and any parts of St. Pete that I'm not interested in. No, I'm honestly open to any area as
Okay.
long as it's just St. Pete and it has to be within my budget.
And so you're fine with flood insurance and all of that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that question. I would prefer for flood insurance to be optional versus mandatory.
Okay, we'll definitely keep that in mind. Of course, if we see a property that just screams that this is perfect for what you're looking for, and yet it has mandatory flood insurance, I'll definitely bring that back up when we're running the numbers.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned like a busy street like 38th Avenue. So what would you define for me as a busy street?
One that gets a good amount of traffic. So I can think of, 4th Street, 38th Avenue, um, 49th also gets, those are 49th Street also is a busy street for me. Obviously US 19 or 34th Street as you head south, it changes names.
Yeah. And I would assume also when we're talking about Kenwood, then something like Fifth Avenue or Ninth Avenue might be a little too busy for you.
Correct. Yes, you're right. Yes. I'd rather like and by the way, I don't have to have sidewalks, more of
Mhm.
just a neighborly feel where people are, there are cars driving on streets, however, slower because people are walking their dogs or people are, walking with a stroller. I would like something where it's a little more family oriented. If I don't know if you can know that or not, but
Sure.
yeah. Yeah.
And I understand. You're talking about a neighborhood that's active. The people live and play and all of those things. And of course, being very important that you're able to walk your dog or that your son can be out and play and not necessarily always be worried about traffic. I get that.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me a little bit. You had mentioned that, you wanted to make sure that it was in your budget. So have you given thought to the amount that you would like to spend on a home?
Well, what I would like and what I'm going to get pre-approved for, I think are going to be two different things.
Okay.
So, the biggest piece that I haven't done yet is I haven't filed my 2019 taxes, and I am putting all that together. That's what they're needing from me. The loan officer
Got it.
is waiting for that. So I would really like to be able to spend 250. I don't know if I'll get pre-approved for that. However, I do have some cash.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe somehow if I don't get pre-approved, I could provide some cash.
Okay. And I find typically you had mentioned that you're speaking with a lender and trying to get financing. I find that sometimes the purchase price isn't necessarily as important as maybe a monthly budget. So do you find that that's similar to you, that maybe there's an amount for housing that you don't want to go above on a monthly basis?
Yes, I agree with you, Michael. I just don't want to have to, I'm getting older, not younger. So I don't want to have a mortgage once I'm 70. I would like to be able to pay it off at some decent time. So that's why I'm kind of thinking 250, because I'm like, that's reasonable. I can handle that. If I start going into 300 or 400, I'm like, wow, that's going to take me forever.
Yeah. Well, would you say that, trying to stay under $2,000 a month, $1,800 a month, $1,500 a month, what does that look like for housing insurance, taxes? What does that monthly payment look like that you feel comfortable with?
I would really like to not do more than 1,800, and that's everything. Meaning, my mortgage itself, my insurance, my homeowner's insurance, and taxes.
Okay, awesome.
I do not want to go above that.
All right, and I understand, and the reason that I ask that is because every neighborhood, every home is a little bit different. I'd like to work with whomever you pick as your final lender to be able to go ahead and find out those numbers and kind of get estimated payments before we make an offer. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, wonderful. Now, you had mentioned that you've not completely narrowed down who you want to work with, but you're going through the process of getting pre-approved. So is it that you aren't sure if that's the particular lender that you want to work with, or is it just that you don't have all of your paperwork finalized?
No, it's just my paperwork. I do have a lender that I like. It's my paperwork. It's my part, not their part.
Okay, absolutely. And so who is that company?
I've heard great things about Keller Mortgage.
Yeah, absolutely. I have too, and definitely will look forward to seeing how Keller Mortgage is working with you. Do you know who your contact person is that you've been speaking to?
I do, yes.
Okay. Well, if you feel comfortable, you don't have to do it right now, but I would definitely love to be able to get their contact information. So as we start to look at homes and we get to the place where we're going to make an offer, that way that person and I can be in communication to make sure that we have everything situated so that you've got a great house under contract.
Yeah, I can definitely give you his information.
Wonderful. Okay, great. So now tell me a little bit about you had already mentioned some things with the backyard. However, this will really help me in terms of the preferred terms and conditions of the home that you're looking for. So what are some wants and needs that I should be aware of when you're looking for a home?
I have to have 2 full bathrooms.
Okay. And you discovered that with a 2-bedroom, 1 bath?
Yes. I would really like there to be 3 bedrooms, although I don't have a problem settling for 2.
Okay.
I would like for it to be open concept, so there's not really a lot of walls between, the living room, maybe a dining room. By the way, I do not necessarily need a dining room. I just would like there to be a nice big kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not remodeled, I can deal with that. I want there to be potential that I can remodel into making it a nice kitchen. I seem to spend a lot of time there with my son.
Okay. Now, you had mentioned 3 bedrooms. Do you intend to use those bedrooms as dedicated bedrooms, like someone's going to be sleeping in a bed in all 3 rooms, or is one going to be maybe an office or mixed use?
No, I do want all 3 bedrooms to actually be bedrooms.
Okay.
I'm not nothing else. However, like the 3rd bedroom, if it is an option, it doesn't have to be huge because one of the bedrooms is going to be a guest bedroom.
Got it. Yeah, I was just curious because sometimes we might find where there's, 2 bedrooms and an office, and that just means that there's some difference to the space, especially when it comes to closets. So that's why I just had that clarifying question.
No, good question.
With the general flow, you said kind of an open concept. It sounds like between the living room area and the kitchen. That way, communication, entertainment, you can kind of have your eyes on your son. Is that a fair assessment when you're talking about an open concept?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that is a non-negotiable when it comes to the home for you? Whether it's a certain size of the home or garage, no garage.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that. I have to have at least a 1-car garage.
Okay.
I have to have the 2 bathrooms, no 1.5. I don't want the 2nd bathroom to be in the garage. I know older homes sometimes have that, and that's wonderful. However, I don't want that.
Got it.
What's a deal breaker? I would have to, I don't know the measurements of a nice size yard. I envision what I have now. What is a good size yard? So I don't know if I'd have to go out there and measure my yard to tell you.
Sure.
So, cause, yeah, that's important too.
And what are you going to be using the backyard for primarily?
I do like to have where my son has friends coming over and they can play and kick ball back there, or just sit out there and enjoy the fresh air. And they're sometimes, on their phones discussing boy stuff. And I do definitely like my dog to have free range. It's a fenced in yard.
Okay.
And she can go about as she pleases. She loves that. So I'd like to keep that for both of them.
You would say that a fence is important to you?
Yes. However, I could have it installed. That would not be a deal breaker. It's the size of the yard that's important.
Okay. Well, I'll be able to see pretty quickly as we start to look at some homes, whether or not the size of the yard is a deal breaker or not. Now tell me, what about privacy of the backyard is important to you?
I'm a sociable person. I've noticed that I like talking to my neighbors. So for me, what do you mean by privacy? I guess.
Well, I guess my question is it important to you that you have a dedicated backyard where you can't see your neighbors in the backyard? Or is it one, because again, there are some homes that have maybe a 4-foot tall chain link fence that you can absolutely see your neighbor's yards 100%. Or some people like maybe some bamboo or some foliage things that are just going to make it kind of feel like your own space?
Oh, I see what you mean. No, I'm open to either or. Right now I don't have a fence, or I have one of those, like you said, chain link fences in the back, and my neighbors in the back and I are sociable, and however we still respect our distance. And so I'm not like, oh no, I stay away from my neighbors.
Sure. Well, tell me, now I've kind of heard from you some of the non-negotiables, the deal breakers. Tell me if there were anything that would be a want. It would just be an absolute plus if it was already installed or already a part of the house.
Oh, what is, oh, okay.
Yeah, like what would be just these are things that you would probably do yourself, and so if they have them, it's just bonus points, whether it's type of flooring or maybe countertops, or if there's a walk-in closet, just certain things that really would just be more enjoyable for you.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. It's funny you think about the things you don't want versus the things you do want. I like real wooden floors.
Okay.
It's not a must. However, I do like those. Those catch my attention. If they need to be restored, it's not a problem. However, they're there already.
Mm-hmm.
If the kitchen was already remodeled, and if they've taken a wall or two down to make it open concept, that would be huge. They've just saved me time,
right,
to do the remodeling. How
do you feel carpet?
Oh no, that's a deal breaker.
Okay, so no carpet.
Yeah.
What about the size of closet?
I mean, it would be nice if they were bigger. They don't necessarily have to be walk-in closet. If it is a walk-in closet, sure, that's really nice. It's not a make it, or it's not a deal breaker.
Got
Yeah.
it. And what about just in general storage? Do you find that you use a lot of cabinet space or enjoy a lot of cabinet space, or do you not necessarily need a lot?
I mean, linen closets, for example, would be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that I'm not a person that has a lot of things.
Okay.
So, although I will say that it would be great if there was space in the garage, like for Christmas decorations. I have a few totes that I would like to, I like to store in the garage that I don't use.
Now, when you said that at least a one-car garage, do you intend to park your car in the garage, or do you want to use that for storage?
No, I'm one of those people that actually puts my car in the garage.
Sure. Absolutely. Is a washer and dryer important to you?
Yes, however, if it's not there, it's not a deal breaker.
If there's hookup, at least, is that something important to you?
Oh yeah. Yes, please.
Okay. Yes. Now these are all wonderful things. I think I have a pretty good sense of the conversation, and yet, is there anything else that you can think that I'm missing in terms of wants or needs around?
Oh, yes. I thank you for asking. I'm block. It has to be a block home. I do not want wood frame.
Okay. We can definitely make sure that that's in consideration when we're doing that. Fantastic. Well, and we're going to pause here for a moment, because I just want us all to have a conversation around, it has been, about 20 minutes, and we've only been spending on the first 3 paragraphs of this. And so, Anna, since I already have you unmuted and you're here, for the other people that are here, I'd love in the chat box for you to just talk about some general takeaways of how you've seen me use the buyer broker agreement to answer some of these. But Anna, as the buyer going through this, what are your first response to using these questions and using the framework like this?
You asked excellent questions. Yeah, definitely narrowed it down and went deeper. So I really appreciated that. Yeah, I do use a buyer broker agreement myself. So yeah, great questions.
Good. Yeah. And so for those that are curious, what would normally be happening is I would be filling out what's necessary for the buyer broker agreement. And I would also have a notepad or something that I would be taking all of the notes of what she's talking about, the no carpet, the backyard, the open floor plan. I would be writing down as much information as possible in that notepad so that I would have that, but then would make sure that the buyer brokerage agreement was clean on what she's looking for. Right. So in terms of type of property in paragraph 3, we'd probably put residential, single family, location, city of St. Pete, Pinellas, price range, we would say, around 250. And then on the side, I would probably put the fact that you don't want to go above $1,800 per month. That way I just have a note that I'm going to be asking your lender when we're looking at properties to go ahead and send me the estimated monthly payments before we even go and look at them, so that when we are in those properties, I'm able to tell you where they are in the estimated monthly payment range so that you can make a decision. And then for preferred terms and conditions, this is where I would put, she's looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath block construction. We'd be able to put some of those things that are there, and making sure that it's a dedicated backyard, 1-car garage, those types of things that we can put down, so that this is also when she sends me a whole bunch of 2-bedroom, 1-bath that she thinks are really cute, I can go back to the conversation and say, Anna, just help me. I want to make sure that we're both on the same page. You told me that it was a non-negotiable that you had 2 bathrooms. So I'm curious, why are you sending me a 2-bedroom, 1-bath? I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. You can use the buyer broker agreement as a way of just reminding them where we are. Silvio said that this was insightful because sometimes even the customer isn't aware of the things that they want, and these questions help narrow it down for both parties. Absolutely. If you go to your old Ignite book, all of you have the old Ignite book, except for some of you that have just started with Ignite 2.0, and I'll make sure that you get a copy of the buyer's needs analysis. It is in the toolkit. The buyer needs analysis in your Ignite toolkit, honestly, those are where a lot of these questions that you're hearing from me, they're exactly from there. And as a team, we still use the buyer needs analysis questions straight out of Ignite for this process. I just have them internalized so that way I can do these, but you can absolutely have them printed out and you can fill those out as well. All right, shall we keep going, Anna?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So, Anna, I've got a really great understanding of what you're looking for. I'd love to just tell you a little bit about my responsibility and how I play a role in this home buying process. Is that okay if I kind of go over some of those things with you now?
Yes.
Wonderful. So I work on behalf of my broker, Rachel Sartain, with the Keller Williams Realty St. Pete office. And so my obligations to you, my office's obligations, is for me to be a professional with my knowledge and skills to assist you in determining what the best financial options are for you. So working with your lender, again, making sure that we are buying a home that's not going to have you over leveraged or make you feel a lot of stress. I want you to feel very comfortable and confident with the home that you purchase and what that monthly responsibility looks like. So we're going to have those conversations around making sure that this is the best fit for you. I'm going to discuss with you some of the property requirements and help you locate a home that matches some of those wants and needs that we referred to up above. I'm going to assist with you to make sure that we are actually going under contract when we do find that home that you're looking for, that we're meeting all of the deadlines that are associated, what we refer to as the critical dates, to ensure that all T's are crossed, I's are dotted, that you feel really comfortable and confident, and that at the end, we actually get to close on the home that you have without any issues. I'm going to cooperate with other real estate agents. They might be some from my office, they might be from other places that have the homes for sale. Of course, I also have listings, so we want to make sure that you get to see any and all of the properties that are here. And so I am going to work with those real estate agents throughout this process. and that you understand that even if I'm to be compensated by the seller, which we'll kind of talk about, that it does not compromise my duties to you as the buyer. Do you have any questions on that?
What does that mean? Compromise duty?
Yeah, so generally speaking, what you'll notice is we actually talk about during the buyer brokerage agreement, what we're going over right now, more often than not, the seller actually pays my commission, if not all of it, at least a large portion of it. And so this is just stating that even though the seller might be paying my compensation, I'm still here to help you through this transaction. Does that make sense?
So you'll be representing me.
I'll be representing the transaction, but absolutely through this process will be when I'm communicating with the seller and I'm communicating with the seller's agent, I am communicating to them based on what your wishes are through the transaction. Absolutely.
Okay.
So also understand that I might be working with other buyers and I might have shown a property that you are also interested to some of my other buyers. I will, of course, let you know if I've seen the property or if I'm going to be seeing the property. However, if I have another buyer who's going to be making an offer on the property, I'm not able to give you any details. And it would be the same thing out of respect for you. If I had other buyers that were looking to put in an offer on a property that you also were looking to put an offer on, I would never tell them the price that you're coming in at, the terms that you're coming in at, in order for them to potentially try to do a better deal.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Not right now.
Okay, wonderful. Understanding that with fair housing, this just means that I am to abide by the Fair Housing Act, and I cannot steer you to any property or talk to you about any property or answer any questions that would talk about unlawful discrimination, whether it's based on race, color, sex, handicap, familial status, country or national origin. And not that I think that we're going to have this issue. And yet, there are some people who would like to ask certain questions, whether it's avoiding a certain demographic or whatever it might be. I just can't answer any of those questions. And so I just want to be very open and honest with you from the beginning that if any of those questions come up, I'm just going to gently remind you that I can't answer any of those things. And I just hope that you're able to respect that.
Sure. Yes, I can.
Wonderful. If ever you're asking for a vendor or an approved partner that I'm working with, whether it's a lender or a home inspector or a general contractor, whatever it might be, I'm going to give you their information. I'm also going to encourage you to look for other recommendations. And if you'd like, I can give you 2 or 3 other ones in addition to. That way you're able to make the decision for yourself. This language here is just saying that I can't be responsible for the level of work that they do. I do work with people that do great work. That's part of the people that I do business with. And yet, as I'm sure you've experienced, not everyone's at 100% all the time. That's why I'm going to want to make sure that you've got multiple options and you can make the best decision that you think is right for you. Is that fair?
Of course. That sounds great.
Now with that, if I am to give you a vendor, do you want me to just give you the one, or would you like for a couple different people to call?
I would like a couple other options as well.
Okay, I'll just make a note of that as we go through this process, if ever you're asking for any of them, I'll make sure that myself or someone from my team is always giving you multiple options.
Thank you.
So if all of this looks good for the first page, what I'd love for you to do is we can either initial each page as we go. That way, if you have any questions, we can kind of stop and start. Or would you like for me to go through all 3 pages with you and then we sign at the end?
If you don't mind, just all 3 pages, and then we'll just sign or initial wherever you need me to.
Sure, absolutely.
Michael, there is one thing I would like to ask of you.
Uh-huh.
I have worked with 2 other real estate agents in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, I don't know why, I'm shown properties that are above my means.
Okay.
I would really, really like to stay whatever I get pre-approved for. I'd really like to stay within my means. I don't, not even if it's $10,000 more.
Okay.
I mean, unless you know something that I don't, where the seller will go down on their price, then great. However, if I see that price, I don't want to be also making an offer and insulting the seller.
And I understand that. And I respect that very much. And to be quite honest with you, I don't like surprises. The only surprises I like are good surprises. And the last thing that I would want you to do is fall in love with a home that's just not in your price range. I don't think that that's fair to you. So I agree. If for whatever reason, if I have insight or if I believe that a home's been on the market or a seller's motivation might have them to where they could accept a reasonable offer that's in your price range, I absolutely will honor that. Is that fair for me to bring that up to you if I do feel like a property might be negotiable with a seller?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So now is the time where we talk a little bit about your obligations through this partnership and what this looks like. And so basically what this is stating is that we're going to discuss and you're going to work with me in helping you get towards finally buying that home that you're looking for. That you understand that I'm going to be working with you. And so would love to be able to show you property throughout, and that you're going to make yourself readily available so that we can go in and see those properties. Now, I can do that virtually through FaceTime or Zoom. We can go in, obviously following CDC guidelines. So when it comes to showing property, what does that look like for you? How are you feeling with showings right now?
You know, I have a face mask and I can put on gloves and I can always, take hand sanitizer. I would prefer, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, to physically see a property that I'm interested. If you email it to me and I look at it and I want to see it in person, I would like to see it in person. I really don't want to do a FaceTime or Zoom call. If I don't know how you're showing houses right now.
Sure. We're pretty much doing whatever the client's looking for. So oftentimes I might have a conversation where if it's easier or if we're having a conflict of time, I or someone from my team might go in and actually do a recording to kind of show you all of the things that are there, send that over to you. And if with the video recording, even then you're still enticed, you really want to go look at this home, we absolutely can schedule it. We've done that for people. We've done just straight virtual showings where we just send it to them and they don't actually go to the property. Or we've done exactly what you suggest. That is, you found a property that looks like it meets a lot of your needs. It's in, the top 3, top 5. And so you'd like to go and physically go see it. We can absolutely accommodate any of those.
Okay, great.
And so with that, do you have any restrictions in terms of the time that you have to go and look at properties? Are you available weeknights, weekends, during the day, during the week? What does that look like for you?
I would prefer it can be late morning to early afternoon. So to about like 3 or 4, 3:30.
Okay. And is that any day? Is that most days? Are there any days that are kind of blocked off for you? So I should be aware.
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday works for you?
Yes. And then weekends I have some flexibility.
Okay, absolutely. And I'll take those things into consideration. You'll notice that also in this paragraph that it's talking about in the subsection B, that you're just going to make sure that we've got accurate personal and financial information. I personally am not going to be requesting any of your financial information minus speaking with you and your lender. I really kind of believe that your lender is the one that's going to know your credit score. They're going to know all of the things that are required. They're going to then communicate with me in terms of how much home you can afford and where we are in the process. But this is just saying that, you're going to be truthful and forthcoming about your personal information, that whether it's a certain amount that you want to put down for escrow or that, you are intending to buy a home. Because as you can imagine, there are some people that do just kind of kick the tires. They don't actually intend to buy a home. And so this is just an opportunity that you know that there are professionals involved. And I, of course, want to help you, but I want to make sure that I'm helping someone who actually wants to buy a home. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, Michael, I really want to buy a home. I don't want to waste your time.
Well, good. I don't want to waste it either. So that would be wonderful. This is saying that just the indemnifying and holding the broker harmless for or against any losses, damages, or expenses of any kind, including attorney's fees and from liability to any person that broker incurs because of acting on buyer's behalf. And what that language is really talking about is, yes, there's language here that says that you have to hold me harmless. And yet all I can say to you is that I work from a place of integrity. I've sent you over the buyer's guide that kind of talked about our belief system. It's very important to me that I've got a business that's built on trust and honesty, integrity, one that's a win-win, that I'm not just looking for me to get a paycheck. I do genuinely want to help you and your son find a bigger home and know that I get paid at the very end when my job is done. So I'm very blessed that I've been able to do quite a bit of business, and yet in 8 years, I've never gotten to a place where we had to have that conversation. And so I just want to be very transparent with you that my intention is to work honestly and fairly. And my hope is for you to do the same.
Okay. Wow. That sounds wonderful.
And then lastly is that if ever there's an opportunity where you're asking for questions and it's something that's not in my wheelhouse, it's not something that would fall under a real estate sales professional's job, I will absolutely defer you to anybody and everybody that I know for proper legal, tax, environmental engineering, any of the things that might be involved. I will definitely make sure that I'm not pretending to be an expert in anything that I'm not.
Okay. Whoa, that's windy. Yes.
All right. So paragraph 6 talks about a retainer. Some agents charge a retainer. I do not charge a retainer at all. Again, I get paid at the very end when you find a property that you love and that you want to buy. I don't see, I'm not an attorney. I don't see any reason why you should be paying me a retainer.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, do talk about compensation. So generally speaking, in order for my services are 3%. And generally the seller is going to pay all of that 3%. Now there are some instances where a seller might be paying 2.5%. They might be paying a significant portion of that. If there is, for whatever reason, a difference in that price, whether it's 2.5% or whatever it might be, we are always going to have a conversation about that. We're going to have a conversation about that on the front end. We're going to have a conversation about that during the negotiation process. The last thing that I would want is for you to get to the closing table and somehow be surprised that there's a difference in that commission. So I do just want to be very clear that the expectation is that for me to be paid 3%, and that generally speaking, that's paid for by the seller. If there is any difference that's left over, that would be something for you to pay the difference. And so one of the things that I do also want to make sure is very clear is that if there is a difference between my 3% and what the seller is offering, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reach out to the seller and ask them if they would pay the full commission before it ever comes back to you and we have that conversation. Do you have any questions around that?
Oh, so if a seller is only compensating 2.5%, you're actually going to ask the seller, would they provide another half percent at closing if I'm interested in that house? Is that what you mean?
I am, yes. And now if I do that and the seller is not willing to have that conversation, then what that means is that that difference of 0.5% would be just a part of your closing costs at the end of the closing table.
Okay. Now, would you share that with me? Would you be also telling me that, saying, Anna, they're not willing to pay that. Do you still want to move forward?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Even if you find a property online and you say, Michael, I'd like to go look at this, and I see that there is that difference in commission, I'm going to go ahead and start that conversation with the seller then. If they're not willing to make that adjustment, I'm still going to bring that up to you, just so that we're taking that into consideration in terms of what you're going to offer during the negotiation process and as you're considering what your total closing costs would be.
Okay. As long as you're communicating with me with me, then yes, I can either make a decision to move forward or say, no, I don't want to go forward. Let's look at another house. Okay.
Wonderful. Yeah. And I want to make sure that it's never something that's ever sprung on you. We'll definitely have a conversation about it multiple times. Again, 80 to 90% of the time, this is really a non-issue. It's not going to be anything that we're going to talk about. And yet there are some instances that it does. And I just want to be upfront and honest from the beginning about that.
Okay. I appreciate transparency.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that your intention is to buy a home, so you do not intend to lease another property, correct?
No.
No. Okay, awesome. So then we're not going to have to worry about the subsection B about lease. And then are you possibly looking at like an owner's rent to own, any kind of lease option, anything like that? Or are you looking to purchase outright?
I want to purchase outright.
Okay. Well, then we'll definitely have that conversation. In paragraph E, this says that in the buyer default, so it says that you will pay the compensation immediately if you default on any contract or acquire property. This is just stating that if for whatever reason you found a property, you know, we worked together, you did everything, and then all of a sudden you either did not want to work with me any longer, this is to say that I'm still owed my compensation. This is also to say if technically, if you were to be approved, there's really no reason, and you know, the day before closing, you just choose not to buy the property because you don't want to. This is obviously going to have that conversation. Now, if you find yourself where you aren't comfortable with the property or you're not able to get financing, and so therefore you're not able to purchase the home, this would never be something that you would have to pay the compensation for. I'm in this for the long haul. I'm going to be there with you, that if this property doesn't work out on the next one, you know, we'll do what we need to do until you find your home.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Absolutely. This in paragraph 8 is talking about a protection period. So this is just saying that I'm still owed my commission within 90 days after the termination date. So you're more than welcome to cancel this agreement at any time. However, this is just saying that if for any reason that you were to purchase a property that I brought to your attention, that I showed you, that we went and physically looked at, any of those possible scenarios, if you then, you know, I don't expect this to happen with you, and yet there are some people that are out there where, you know, maybe they find a property and then they connect with the seller, and in an attempt to get a deal on the property, they tell the seller, well, let's do this without agents. And so you fire me and the seller fires their listing agent. This just says that really the whole reason why you're even there is because I brought you to the property, and so therefore I'm still owed my compensation.
I'm all about, you know, you being compensated. I just don't understand how I would do that as a buyer. I don't know anything about the real estate negotiating or the paperwork. How would I even make that happen with the seller? Wouldn't I need someone like an attorney still? So I you know what? I'd just rather have you, Michael.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I would much rather have you want to have me as your agent from that perspective. I definitely agree that this is a difficult process, or can be a difficult process, and should require a professional. You could defer to an attorney, of which an attorney is going to get paid whether you close or not. So I agree. It's kind of a moot point here on this agreement, and yet I just want to be transparent that obviously I'm here helping you any and every way possible, and yet I'm not a non-for-profit, and I do work to be able to provide for my family, and so that's just that language that's there.
Okay.
To speak to that, the early termination, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. you're more than welcome to cancel this at any time. If for whatever reason you and I are not working out, you want to work with another agent, you have a change of plans, you're more than welcome to terminate this agreement just by sending me a text message, an email, preferably just in writing where it's already time-stamped. That way you just have record of it, I have record of it. I've never been fired in 8 years, so don't be the first. But if you want to, then you absolutely can here with the early termination. With that being said, also paragraph 10, this is just saying that dispute resolution, if for whatever reason, we were to have an issue about compensation or anything through this process, this is just saying that we are going to choose to go through mediation as opposed to litigation. We don't want to involve court costs, judges, any of those additional legal fees. We would really try to resolve it in a mediation environment. With that being said, again, in 8 years, I've never had anything get to the place where it had to be either mediated or dealing with an arbitrator. So don't be the first on that one either. But this is just stating that if that was the case, we would do mediation, then arbitration before litigation. I know that those are all fun legalese words. So any questions about what that means?
No, I really don't want to know, to be honest with you. I just want to purchase a home for my son and my dog and I.
I know. And a lot of the legal kind of mumbo jumbo that's here can make this seem scary, and it shouldn't be. And yet, obviously it's written here because someone had an issue before. I think to your point, if we are open and transparent and are coming from a place of integrity and wanting a win-win, we really shouldn't have an issue.
Wonderful.
In terms of assignment on paragraph 11, this is just saying that the broker may assign this agreement to another broker. So I could possibly assign this to another broker in the same way that you would be able to assign this over to your heirs or personal representative. If your intention was to purchase a property and something was to happen to you, and in that place, you were able to put in a personal representative to work on your behalf. This just says that you're able to do so. If for whatever reason something happened to me, where maybe I was hospitalized and I wasn't able to help you, this just says that I'm able to make sure that someone else from my team is going to be able to work with you, that it's not just between you and I. It could be between you and I and then our representatives. Again, very rarely does this ever come up, but I just want to make sure that we're going over it and I'm able to answer any questions that you have.
Okay.
Alrighty, and then lastly, we're on the last page. We're almost done. Brokerage relationship. So this is just letting you know that the broker, myself, and actually my broker, Rachel Sartain, and the Keller Williams Realty St. Pete office is going to act as a transaction broker. And what this means is that I'm going to help you through this process. And yet, by being with the #1 office in all of South Pinellas, we've got more than 290 agents that actually hang their license under Rachel's license. And so this just means that actually by acting as a transaction broker, you're going to be able to potentially have access to some of those listings that are represented by my broker and by my brokerage. If for whatever reason we were in a different type of relationship, one that is referred to as a single agent relationship or single agency, that would mean that if you and I were working together, since I hang my license under Rachel's license, then all of the other 290 agents that sell more real estate than anybody else, they would not have the opportunity to show you a property, or if they had the perfect home for you, you wouldn't be able to buy it under that type of agreement. That's why we have the transaction brokerage. Any questions on that?
That sounds confusing, but maybe I don't need to understand it, but I want to be able to see whether it's under your brokerage or whatever brokerage. I want to be able to see whatever homes are within what I'm looking for.
Absolutely. And so basically, to your point, to simplify it, this allows us to do that. My office, I work with a lot of agents that sell more real estate than anybody else, which means that they probably are working with the seller that has the home that you're looking for. And so this type of brokerage relationship, by being transactional, allows for my broker to represent both the seller and the buyer. even though you and I would be working together and another agent from my office would be working with that seller.
Gotcha. Okay.
I don't have any special clauses. There's not anything that I think needs to be mentioned here. So any last questions or anything that you'd like to be clarified before we sign the agreement?
No, not right now. Mm-mm.
All right. Well, then I'm going to hand this over to you, or I'm going to send it to you digitally, whatever, break script, done. Okay, great. Thank you, Anna.
You're
So
welcome.
in general takeaways from Anna, while Anna and I are chatting about that, let's go ahead in the chat box and let's see some takeaways from those of you that are here. What are some of the things that you liked by using the buyer brokerage agreement? What are some things that you intend to incorporate into your consultation that can be helpful? And so, Anna, just a general sense of going through this process, what were some things that you liked? What were some things that you already do? You mentioned you use the buyer broker agreement. And what are some things that you intend to incorporate?
You have gone through the buyer broker agreement in much more detail than I do. I don't get into the legal jargon. I think that I need to be doing that just so the buyer is aware. You definitely went, and I know obviously this is a training seminar, so you went into every single detail. I do cover the compensation. I use different words than you do. However, I do cover it the way you do. So the buyer is aware that there are listings out there that compensate the buyer's agent, 2.5, 2.75. So I do also put on my buyer broker agreement 3%. I've not had any issues with that. Yeah, I do ask I ask a lot of questions about the type of property they're looking for. So we're in line on that.
Good. How about the people that were able to listen in? Thank you, Anna, for volunteering and being a part of that. Genoa said that it was good how you indicated to Anna the expectation is for you to be paid 3% and set that straight right away. Absolutely. That's the power of the BBA. What else? What were some other things that you liked from this process? Linda says, do you always use this agreement? If not, when do you recommend using this or not using this? Do you find many people object to this agreement? I use it always. I recommend using it always. And no, I do not find people have a problem with this because I'm a professional. So, when the person says, well, I've worked with agents in the past, they never made me sign anything like that. I go, well, that's too unfortunate because I run my business like a business, as you could understand. And so this document is one that allows me to negotiate on your behalf at the time when you do find a property. And quite frankly, without some kind of formal agreement that says that I'm working to help you find a property, what gives me the right to negotiate on your behalf? Just because I was there to open a door with you. This document is what actually identifies me to the seller and to the listing agent that I'm a professional that's here to help you through this process. And it also identifies to the seller who is supposed to be compensated when you do finally close on that home. So I don't have anybody fight me on the BBA. Silvio says how to be more direct when using the BBA is what I'm taking away from this. Yeah, I mean, I'm already naturally a pretty direct person. However, this just really makes sure that they understand the process. Sometimes we're really vague about our compensation. Maybe we're really vague about how to terminate or even quite frankly, in the beginning, if we don't ask enough good questions about what they're looking for, their wants and needs, there's not really a whole lot that I can do. Or worse, I'm going to show them 30 or 40 houses and we're not going to be anywhere closer to what they're looking for because I never asked the right questions. All right, any other takeaways? I know I see quite a few of you here. I'm not hearing from you. Would love to get some of your feedback before we end for the day. I do know that we are we're over by about 2 minutes, but let's just have 1 or 2 more ahas in the chat box, and then we'll be done with this. Thank you again, Anna, for volunteering. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And by volunteering, I mean voluntold.
I know.
All right. Anyone else? 2 more. Come on with it. Linda says, great job, Anna. Bueller, 1 more. All right, folks. Well, I'm not getting a whole lot from you. So I hope that you found this helpful. Silvio said, explaining how this BBA can give them a better understanding of my responsibilities to them. Thank you for that. Yes, I know that that was like chalkboard, nails on a chalkboard, but definitely hope that you are able to use this document. It's able to help you during your buyer consultation. And again, quite frankly, from a confidence level and a professionalism level, if you've got a legal document in front of you, one that you can speak to freely and confidently, it's going to show them there's a direct correlation to your experience and their experience with you. Now, here's the kicker. The buyer brokerage agreement is 97% already filled out, and it's been written by the Florida Association of Realtors and the Florida Bar, which are attorneys. So all you have to do is get really comfortable by reading and reviewing this document every day until you feel really comfortable front and back that you can explain this to your people. And you don't have to do it from memory. You can have the buyer brokerage agreement right in front of you when you're talking with them, because you're filling it out as they're answering questions for you. So it's a really great tool that you have already in your pocket. So I just want to be a resource for you through that, using the buyer brokerage agreement. All right, thank you all very much. I appreciate it. It is 1:05. Please enjoy the rest of your day. If you're in Pivot, then that starts at 2 o'clock. If not, then I will see you all in the morning. Obviously, 8:30, we've got Power Up with Reedy and Red, and then we have Ignite. We've got the last day of the first week of Ignite, in which we're focused on setting goals that matter. All right? Take care, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.